Okay, so I guess for the attendance, so Harriet Beering, I'm here, Cressica,
Hi, Cressica.
Dick Grass here. Dick, just have to respond that you're here.
Dick, are you here?
Yes.
Josh.
I'm here.
And so that's 4.
And so it says here we need 5.
Right, that's when we were down a member. But we'll hold off on voting on the minutes until, and hopefully another member will arrive. We wanted to start with the update of the prize activities from Prescott and Kizzy. So you want to go ahead?
Sure. Okay, so since the last Energy Committee meeting, we submitted our final report for the Rural Energy Prize, including 11 letters of support and commitment from different Islesboro community groups and Revision Energy. Yeah.
Go on, yeah.
Wow, what is that, Trevor?
So I really want to thank all the Energy Hub members, including that weirdo, for your efforts on the report, and especially Janice for all of her creative writing to fit our activities into the 5,000 word maximum. It was quite a feat. And 14 Islesboro residents signed solar hosting agreements for us. So that far exceeded our goal. And it also exceeded the island's renewable energy hosting capacity if we were to build those arrays. So we might hear the results of the prize competition sometime in September. Then Janice hosted an Energy Hub meeting at which we planned how to move forward with the initiatives that we started during the Rural Energy Prize year, including collective installation of home energy equipment and insulation, DIY weatherization and solar, and community solar. And then 2 weeks ago, we hosted the National Renewable Energy Lab representative and the potential microgrid developer for an informational meeting on Islesboro to discuss long duration energy storage and microgrid plans. Bill gave our visitors an energy infrastructure and geography tour of the island. And meeting participants included the Islesboro Economic Sustainability Corporation, Sustainable Housing and Development Foundation, SHADF, and the Community Center, as well as individual select board members. And so we'll be following up with NREL in the coming days, and I'll have more of a kind of result from that meeting and next steps pretty soon from them.
So not everybody here was at that meeting, so could you summarize the kind of stuff that they were talking about? I know it's complicated.
Yeah, yeah, I was hoping to get a summary. They're putting together a summary for us in this week. But yeah, it ranged from like describing for us the potential for a hydrogen fuel cell tied grid forming inverter, which could form the core of a island-wide microgrid for us, as well as a project that would allow them to work with CMP and their power systems data in order to program and design the microgrid controller system. And also we were looking at a number of other issues like tidal energy or other renewable energy sources that could kind of provide more firm power sources in addition to the community solar initiatives. And that firm power could potentially enable us to add a electrolyzer and be able to generate hydrogen on the island, so that would reduce the amount of transported fuels that we would need. So these are kind of just long-term plans, and also thinking about how this fuel cell system could support a more resilient ferry charging system on the island. So I think that covers it.
Right, I mean, we know we were sort of left with a lot of unanswered questions, among them, you know, what would the location be for? They were talking about locating a fuel cell system close to where the cable comes in. And it's not clear to me that we have a site available for that. They also talked about having, you know, a couple of different locations. You know, what the cost to the island would be, whether or not CMP would actually invest in this would be the ideal situation, because it would back up their systems. You know, how much, you know, if we set up a system that allowed for greater resiliency and fewer power outages, but was a little bit more expensive, is that something the islanders would buy into or not? I suspect it depends on the magnitude of what that involved, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions there, I think. At the end of the.
Yeah, that'll be part of the ongoing discussion and design process. Yeah, I think this was really just a kind of getting to know us and them session, which was nice. Yeah.
Well, you know, it was really interesting to listen. I mean, I'm not an engineer, so listening to these engineers talk about what kinds of solutions might help the island was pretty interesting. It's sort of, I struggle a little bit some of the time to follow what they're talking about, but so yeah, it'd be good to come back with somewhere. Yeah, Trevor.
I just wanted to ask, initially when this was raised, like there was talk about funds that would be available to us for the development of this resource. And I think that's one of like the main incentives, is that this would cost, you know, a couple $1 million normally, but if we're willing to be the pilot program, then it costs significantly less. Was that articulated further, or is that still kind of nebulous?
Yeah, I mean, that'll be part of the, you know,
More detailed proposal?
the analysis. But right now, they're, you know, these are all just ballpark figures that they're continuing to refine with the different offices who are involved.
Do we have ballpark figures?
Yes, their ballpark figures are about 1.5 to 2 million for the subsidized system. Right
Mhm.
now, that is owned by a large corporation. That half of the system, the other half of the system is owned by either an office at the DOE or NREL. I can't really remember which.
Mhm.
So the overall system, you know, of this, you know, fuel cell coupled grid forming inverter is upwards of 4 million.
Okay.
And so we would be subsidized to the tune of like 2 million.
Gotcha.
And then there would, you know, we'd be looking for strategies to either fund or finance the remainder of the cost, because this other corporation that owns it wants to be bought out if we use their system. And then on top of that is the cost of designing the whole system, which NREL is putting a number of about like at least $700,000 on, which
Mhm.
would otherwise have to be part of, you know, a funding proposal or, you know, a cost that we would have to bear. And then on top of that is the microgrid controller design, and they're trying to negotiate among, you know, the microgrid developer and NREL, and, you know, we'll have a discussion with CMP about how these costs can be negotiated, financed, further subsidized.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's a process in the coming weeks to have, let them have another series of meetings with the different participants. And then we'll get
Right.
more information from them.
Right, and then at some point, we'll have to plan a way of presenting these proposals or these ideas to various constituents on the island. I mean, it's a lot to understand and try to figure out, and, even understand what the benefits are, what the downsides are, and all the rest of it.
And I think we talked about that last week with Trevor, and also I talked about a bit about it with my research group who is actually doing this kind of work. And in addition, we have the support of social scientists at NREL who will help us with that, designing that community engagement. So we have a number of resources we can draw on to make a more effective community engagement process, I think.
All right. So, any questions about that? So you wanted to mention the window dressers?
Yep, we have a final date for the window dressers build. October 29th to November 2nd are the build dates. We essentially have to go and pick up the gear. So all of the tools, all of the wood, everything we have to go pick up the day before on the 28th, and then return it on the 3rd. So it's got a lot of moving parts. We need more people to be shift supervisors. It is quite a lengthy process to kind of figure out what you need to do. I think Bill and I were in the training yesterday. It was 3 hours of training, and it should have been 6, but there's definitely a lot to absorb. Anybody that's done it before would be fantastic if we could get them to be shift supervisors, because they want 2 shift supervisors per 4 hours. So that's a lot of people basically. But the build's coming up. We've got great participation. I'm pretty excited about it. Here's one of the little, for anyone that doesn't know what a window insert looks like, here's a little mini one. So I know some people.
So what Lizzie's talking about, in case you hadn't heard, was these to provide window inserts to help reduce heat loss through the windows for people's homes, but it's a community build process, so they bring the materials and community members actually put the things together. So that's what she's talking about, the training of the supervisors to make sure it's done correctly. And it can be provided free. They will be provided free to people who can't afford to pay, and they're pretty low cost to people who are able and want to pay for getting them as well.
Yeah, I mean, they don't require any proof of income, or, if somebody says I can't afford to pay for them, then they will get 10 free inserts, but they are expected to provide a 4-hour shift per 3 to 5 inserts, depending on how big they are. So obviously we're trying to look for volunteers, because there are members of the community that can't do the build, or maybe they could provide lunch or do some other, task. But basically we don't want to turn away anybody that wants an insert. And before, we were unclear as to how much we had to fundraise for these free inserts, and their answer was fundraise as much as you can, but if people want the inserts, we will get them the inserts, as long as they provide the time, basically. So yeah, but we already have a lot of volunteers that don't want inserts, so they're just providing their time, which is great. And I think we probably will have everybody covered that wants inserts and is not able to build them themselves.
So that's terrific. I think that's, really a terrific project that's come out of the prize activities. Anything else on the prize activities?
I
No,
think that's it.
yeah, that's what. All right. Okay, so again, we'll hold on the minutes, although I don't know if we're gonna get anybody else's coming. So updates on ongoing projects, the library. Now, Corsica's been working on the library. The heat pumps are part of the committee's budget for this fiscal year. The solar panels planned for the library, the Friends of the Library are gonna pay for it. But they would like to know that this committee has taken a look at the proposals and is in agreement with the plan. So it's not something that, you know, we formally have to vote on, but they would like to know that this group has weighed in on the plans. So do you want to go ahead with what you have?
I think you distributed the proposal, and I think everybody has reviewed it, who wanted to review it. So, yeah, that it's basically just a solar array on the south-facing roof, and yeah.
The
It's
solar array,
pretty
the
simple.
design,
Yeah.
the design of the solar array was to provide the maximum amount of energy production that could come from that roof. And the calculations that have been done look like, it's way more than the electricity than the library uses now. And it looks like it should provide enough to power the heat pumps. If there is excess, it will then be credited to other town accounts. So the town will benefit.
Yeah, there's about, right now, the library uses about 10 megawatt hours per year of electricity, and the heat pumps, if they use the same amount as the equivalent fuel that the the boiler uses, then the heat pumps will use about 9 to 10 megawatts additional electricity. So it'll approximately double the amount that the library uses, which corresponds to the size of the array, which is about 19 megawatt hours. So it'll work perfectly.
I have performed the mathematics on the library using as a starter the amount of fuel used so I could develop the heat loss and have compared the BTU consumption of the library and have calculated the kilowatt hours per BTU and all of the rest of the necessary things and have trying to figure out exactly what the benefit to the library would be of converting from fossil fuel to a heat pump. The fossil fuel is already paid for and it's there. I feel, Jessica, could you tell me what benefits you're looking for the library, please?
Well,
What
there's
are the-
many benefits, Nick.
Sure.
For starters, the fossil fuel is not paid for already.
What?
You know, it's gonna cost upwards of $3,000 a year, even after the insulation was put in. So we're going to, you know, the electricity itself at current prices would only cost $2,000 instead of $3,000 for fossil fuels. So no matter what, we'd be saving $1,000 per year for the town. In addition, the Friends of the Library have generously donated an entire solar array that will cover all of those costs. So we're going to be saving $3,000 a year for the town.
Could you
So-
kindly
On top of that,
mathematics, please? I need to see the math, if you don't mind.
well, you have all the numbers, you know, it's, you know, 750 gallons of fuel oil were used last year. That's easily converted to about 9,000 to 10,000 kilowatt hours equivalent of the heat pumps usage. And that translates into about $2,000 a year of electricity usage versus $3,000 a year of fuel oil usage. So, you know, it's pretty straightforward.
You're
that
putting a lot of
savings for the town.
a lot of numbers out. Please send me a copy of what you just said so that I can look at it and compare what I've done. I've got a good copy.
You already have the numbers. You've already looked at them.
I have
And
not seen.
Bill explained them to you as well, yeah.
Yeah,
I've asked also for the copy of the submission that you sent to the federal government, I think a couple of weeks ago. And I have not received that yet either.
Well, so actually, she hasn't really gotten to the heat pumps yet, so do you want to explain where that stands right now?
We have to keep in mind here that there are 40 kilowatt hours per gallon of fuel oil, and 40 times 20 cents a kilowatt hour, which is roughly the low price of power today, maybe 21, is about $8, and the cost of a gallon of fuel is 4. We have to keep all of those things in mind as we do the math. And those are facts. I mean, the fact is that it's about 20 or 21 cents a kilowatt hour for electric power, whether it's in this room or anywhere else. Forget the solar for the moment. But that's it's being paid for the average homeowner. And a gallon of fuel oil is about $4 a gallon. Maybe Josh has a better price, but it's pretty close to that. So we're paying $8 for electric power as compared with $4 for an equivalent BTU gallon of fuel oil. And I want to see the math, please, if you don't mind. Otherwise, I'm gonna vote no against any library heat pump. Or
Well,
solar.
we've already approved the library heat pumps for
Oh,
this
maybe
year's
so.
budget. So we're just executing the project that we've already approved. So
That's, we haven't spent the money yet in this commission, as far as I know, we have not approved the heat pump for the library, this committee.
The money has
So-
already been allocated.
Right,
I want to see the math, if you don't mind.
we can get
Well,
you
the
that.
math is quite simple. The
Yeah,
math is quite
Saying
simple.
that I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, you can see it right now. Write down the number of gallons that were
I
used
want-
last year, which was about
want
750 gallons. You can
want-
multiply that by 4. I'm speaking, Dick. You can multiply that by 4. 750 by 4 is $3,000. So write down that number so you can see the fuel oil cost.
so,
And then the electricity cost is about, well, you said 22 cents for marginal cost of a kilowatt hour. You multiply that by 9,000 kilowatt hours and you get what?
about 1,800, yeah.
You get $2,000. So the cost of fuel oil is $3,000. The cost of electricity is $2,000 for a year.
So, we can write that out and put it in an
I
email.
want to see it in writing.
That's,
Well, you could have just
that's-
written it down, so.
So moving on though, do you want to go over where we stand with the heat pump proposals, the actual
That's right.
proposals that we have?
I don't see any benefit for a heat pump or solar system at this moment for the library. You might want to have more efficient oil burner, that's a possibility. But right now, the price of fuel oil and the price of power are entirely different from each other.
Well, we'll send you the calculations.
Please, if you don't send it to me, I can't study it.
And Jessica, did you say that the Friends are donating the solar panels?
Correct.
I don't know if they have.
They have.
I've
They
talked
have.
to some time.
Oh,
as well.
They've approved it.
So,
And the solar panel without the heat pump has a lot of problems because you're not gonna take any space heating into account at all.
but it still saves,
Brings the heat pump, so.
but all the electricity generated by the
So
solar
The
system,
solar panel's gonna power the heat pump? I
yeah,
wanna see the math.
yeah.
I don't believe it.
Well,
I'd like to see it happen. I don't believe it.
yeah, so we have that. As far as the heat pumps go, we are revisiting the proposals, right?
Yeah, we're reviewing more proposals from more companies to, yeah, make sure we get a good proposal. We're in that.
For the library.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? Yeah.
What is the question and the issue right now, to be honest? I'm sorry, I'm late. It was, I'll explain later. I apologize. What brought up the conversation? What is the
Well,
issue?
Jessica's doing the update on the heat pumps and the library projects.
Okay. So, I'm happy to comment on the heat pump issue and on the solar array briefly. I have simple statements about each. I think the heat pump's an excellent idea. Dick, I don't agree with you. I think the heat pump's a good idea.
It is
I
on a
think
new building.
we should see another quote, but I think there's no reason at all not to go forward with the heat pump. My only reservation, which I still maintain, is that I would rather not be doing it now. I'd rather have another year of data in order to be able to demonstrate the benefit of the work we've already done. We won't be able to do that if we rush forward into this project. But the heat pump itself is an excellent idea. I have no problem with that at all.
What do you do with the oil system, Bill?
We will turn it off and use it only in emergencies, and if after several years it hasn't been used, we'll remove it. Okay, the solar array is another matter entirely. The solar array is a town array. It will be purchased by the Friends of the Library, but it goes on a town building. That money will go into the town accounts and be allocated to all the other demands in the town. There is nothing arguing against the installation of the solar array now. I had reservations about the roof because I thought it was precipitous to take the roof off now, but the roof is well into its lifetime. Nobody will install on that roof as it is. The sooner we get a solar array on the building, the sooner we get the credits for the town and diminish the town's cost for electricity. There's no argument against the solar array. We don't have to pay for it. We get the benefit of it. There's just no argument against it.
Who's gonna pay for the heat pump?
That's on the energy
Our budget.
budget.
It was
It's in our
budgeted
budget.
last year for the installation of the heat pump. As I've said, my only reservation is the speed with which we're putting it in. Other than that, we've discussed the idea of a heat pump for the past 2.5 years. My concern is we've never had a report on the heat pump proposals for the whole committee to evaluate. That's my concern about it, but the idea of a heat pump is excellent.
No, heat pumps are excellent. I just wanna see the math.
Okay,
A
well,
new building like the health center is a different story entirely, where you can make a choice from the beginning, but now you got an existing heating system in the library that's doing all right. I mean, it's not as efficient presumably as a heat pump, that's for sure. But it does keep the building and it doesn't cost us anything more than the operating cost of the fuel. And the heat pump's gonna be at 21 cents a kilowatt hour.
It will not.
More efficient.
It will not be at 21 cents per kilowatt hour because there will be a solar array which will cover at least a large percentage of, and probably all of the cost.
Well, that's fine, show me the math.
okay.
So how much output are we gonna get from the solar system?
We will.
I agree totally.
We will send you those calculations. They've all been done.
I've been doing that math, Bill, for a good part of my professional life and have successfully hundreds of buildings that have done this kind of thing. I wanna see the math.
The math could be provided there.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the town office. Oh, actually, before we do that, we were waiting for you. We didn't have a quorum.
I apologize again.
So Bill Thomas is now here, so we just need to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Do we have a motion to approve? Oh, we have a motion,
I'll
second,
second.
discussion? Okay, all right, a vote, start with Cressica. Motion to approve the minutes.
Yes, I approve Cressica.
That's
Says
right. Okay, Harry Bearing, yes. Bill Thomas.
Yes.
Yes.
Josh Leach, yes, and Dick DeGrasse. Approve the motion to approve the minutes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, the town office update.
It took longer to install the system than we anticipated. There were problems. I asked repeatedly to be kept up to date on the installation and I had to keep asking in order to get updates. What it turned out to be is that there were leaks in the system. I mean, the installation was a little bit more complicated than they intended. I don't have details on that. But what I do know, after having stopped by in the middle of the week just to find out what was going on, the technician was upstairs and he was troubleshooting leaks in the system. He had put in a lot of time doing so. He still had a problem with one leak. A few more days elapsed. I hadn't heard anything. I wrote there was no problem with the leaks. They were supposed to have been repaired. I told everyone that. I sent a message out to Janet and everyone, copied other people on it. It turns out that there were 3 units that seemed not to be working. One of those units was checked 2 days later. Turns out that there was a cap on an outlet. I don't have the details about what this outlet was, but it kept the unit from working correctly. That cap was sealed and the unit worked fine. The other 2 units that were apparently not working simply had not been turned on. The thermostat had not been activated, and once that was done, the system worked fine. So as of now, the system is fully operational. And my understanding is that last Thursday, representative, can't remember her name, representative from Efficiency Maine came over to do the inspection that would permit the release of the rebate money to Solar Logics for the system. So to the best of my knowledge, oh, and I've gotten feedback from Janet that the units indeed do work and everybody is happy. So to the best of my knowledge, the system is completely installed, completely functional, and the rebates are to be sent out.
Great. So,
Congratulations, Bill. Yay.
And you know, I don't know why it's so hard to get feedback. I mean, the people from Solar Logics are nice, but they just did not give me the feedback that I kept requesting.
all right, that sounds like that's pretty much done. Any updates on the municipal building?
I don't have any updates on the municipal building, however, the EV charger issue is related to that, so I could just
Okay, go ahead.
continue on into that. So a couple weeks ago, I was able to speak with the architects and the contractor about the EV charger siting and relocation. And they're willing to install the infrastructure, the cables, in order to install the EV charger on the new parking spaces that are farther away from the health center and the broadband building, in order to protect that critical infrastructure, and in addition to protecting the fire department critical infrastructure. So we have a location, and we have an agreement to go forward with that. We might need to provide some money to them if it results in a change order that costs the town more money. So we might need to consider that coming up, but we do need to move forward with this if the contractor is going to install these chargers at all, and we want them to be farther away from the building than they put them, which was right next to the building. So I was able to at least review those plans and make sure they got moved farther away. And the other issue is that somebody spoke with the site manager about the EV charger locations, and now there's some confusion about where the EV chargers should be located. And Kizzy and I have been asking around trying to figure out who that person was. So we know it wasn't Josh, it wasn't Fred, it wasn't Monica, I don't think it was Holly, it wasn't Bill, it wasn't Harriet. So I'm just trying to figure out who that person might have been.
Why don't I just wander in there?
Yeah, sorry. Owen's going to join the meeting.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the phone to Owen right now, actually, about
Great.
I'll hang up, Owen, okay?
Okay.
Owen, we thought it might be Owen, so.
So he's about to walk into the meeting, and he just rang me about this, so he's about to and discuss what he thinks possibly could have happened.
Okay.
Here he is. Hi.
There we go. See, look at that. Oh, good. Look at this timing.
So,
She texted me. I didn't know she was in a meeting.
oh, I see.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking about the EV charger, and they were wondering who spoke with the contractor about its location and wondered if it was you.
if it wasn't Mark or the contractor, nobody else would have any knowledge about where to put it, right? I mean, because I think how we had left it was Mark basically had to decide. Because he knew where everything was going.
The only thing I question is whether or not Mert had seen him and talked to him, that'd be the only other.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Mark,
Who is Mark? I'm
Murder,
sorry.
Fred.
Who is Mark?
Mark, Mark is the architect, yeah.
Ah,
And Fred
Yeah,
said-
so we do need to check in with Mert, I think, yeah, Josh, yeah.
yeah, I did not talk to anybody on site about that. I do have an ancillary story that's informative, nothing more, but it's got nothing to do with the EV charger.
So somebody will touch base with Mark to see if there was. Okay,
Josh, do you want to, or should I email him? It's up to you.
If you don't mind, I'll have you do it just because there'll be another, kind of add to this in a little bit once we kind
Okay.
of clear things up.
Okay,
so the main utility policy rates update, Dick, you're on. Anything on that?
Before we leave the municipal building, can I just add,
Oh, sure.
30
Go ahead.
seconds of a
Yeah, yeah,
story.
go ahead.
when Kreska and I were taking the representatives from NREL back to the ferry landing, we went by the foundation over here, the construction work, and I noticed that the insulation was inside the perimeter foundation. So I wrote to Lauren Bruce and copied at least Harriet, if not Kreska. I don't remember exactly whom I copied. And I got a response from Lauren Bruce I got a response from the architect via Lauren Bruce. And it turns out it was a cost consideration because it is not the better way to do it. The thermal mass should be within the insulation, and that helps to maintain the temperature more uniformly. I think there's a lot of justification for that approach. However, the reason it was done as it has been done is because it was too costly deemed too costly to adapt the exterior insulation to the various ground line of the building as it went around the contour of the location. So they just figured it was going to be too expensive, and they insulated inside the foundation wall rather than outside. So it's a thermal break to keep the worn slab from losing heat to the exterior. It's only 2 inches of foam. I think it's a less than excellent approach, but that's the story. Was that clear to everybody?
Okay, Dick, you're on. The policy updates, anything new? You have nothing new?
The only thing that I could comment on at all would be that the heat pumps, don't forget, use fossil energy on their side of the meter. And since it's consolidation is the Constellation, I should say, is the supplier of power to this municipality. Their power supply is generally nuclear and natural gas.
Mhm.
So we cannot assume that the heat pump is totally fossil energy, if you want to consider oil as fossil energy.
That's true.
We have to jump to the conclusion that we're into some renewable energy source all of a sudden if we go to heat pumps.
That is true.
it's
but
only
you're
true
not-
until we get the solar panels, and then we're gonna retire our own renewable energy credits, so we're canceling out that.
It isn't even completely true at the moment, in the sense that the solar arrays that we currently have cover about 45% of the electrical demand of the municipal buildings.
Yeah.
The new solar array will add to that considerably.
Can you show us both the size of the solar array and that 45%?
I've done it multiple times. I'm happy to do it again.
Please.
So, okay, moving on to the next thing, I think everybody here is aware that Toby Martin passed away a few weeks ago. There is going to be a remembrance service for him this Sunday. At the Up Island Church, I think it was 3:30.
I think so.
Yeah, so, a couple of, things. One is, does this committee, he was very passionate about this committee and was one, as I understand it, before I was involved, one of the people who got this committee going. And do we want to do some kind of tribute to him? One idea that I heard floated out there was planting a tree in his honor in the community park or someplace that people thought was appropriate. A plaque someplace, I'm not sure quite where that will go. I'm just throwing it out for discussion, for ideas.
I think the Green Paper wanted to contribute also to a tree, and so does the Island Market. And and so does the library. And I think Melissa Olson thought that having a collective tree in the Remembrance Garden at the library may be a really nice idea where we could all, you know, contribute together and it just be a nice collaborative kind of thing we do.
Well, that sounds like a nice idea. How do other people feel about it?
Well, I agree. I mean, he had the dedication to the library itself, and the committee, and I think it'd be a great way to have a tribute for him would be right there.
So I guess at the moment, we don't need to decide on an amount. I mean, we can work with Melissa, I guess, to come up with a proposal that each group, but sounds like the sense of the group is that people approve of the idea.
Yes.
Okay. Now, a couple of other things that you wanted to mention about the Green Times to start with.
Yes. So Toby picked up the Green Times and would deliver it every couple of months to the island. And so they are looking for someone who would be willing to do that again, or in his place. It seems that a member of the Energy Committee would be a reasonable choice, but not the only choice. And so
I've spoken to the guy, he emailed me and I've agreed to do it, so that's
Great,
excellent.
thank you, Kinsey. The other thing was, they were looking, what was it, they were looking for somebody to speak at the.
Looking for someone to speak at this remembrance, and it is indeed Sunday at 3:30 at the Up Island Church, okay? And so it seemed as though someone from the Energy Committee, again, might be a logical choice, since he was on the committee since its inception, and in fact was involved with its creation.
Anybody want to take that on?
For me, it's a conflicting schedule just because I didn't plan on being here on Sunday, but
We ought to ask Janice. Janice might be interested in doing that. Dick, you've been on the committee ever since its inception.
Well, I know Toby pretty well, like most everyone, I think. You know, one of the things that he was incredibly well done with is the plastic windows inserts, whatever you want to call them. I put them in all of it in our house, and it was just made a huge difference. And he was really instrumental, I think, in that. He didn't build them, but he was instrumental, because I know he was crawling all around the house and measuring up for the windows, and they really went well.
I think the first ever Window Dressers build, and Window Dressers is the company that will facilitate our build. They will provide us with the, you know, plastic and cut the wood for us. And they now range over the whole of northern New England. And the first build was actually on Islesboro. So, you know, its inception was on Islesboro. And I think Toby was a part of that. So yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah.
I think you're in charge of that now, aren't you?
Yep.
So I guess the issue was they want to know if somebody from the committee would speak at the memorial service. I can ask Janice if she's interested. I sort of didn't know as well as some of the other people around. Dick, if Janice isn't able to, would you be willing to?
One comment, but on power, but I didn't want to interrupt the discussion with Bob Toby. I forgot to bring it up in my section here.
Would you be willing to speak at the service if Janice is not?
I'm probably not the world's best speaker at this point in life, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, the answer is I can't avoid. Was it a Sunday?
It's
Yeah,
Sunday,
Sunday
yeah.
at 3:30.
What time? Which Sunday?
3:30.
Three
This coming
thirty this
Sunday.
Sunday.
This Sunday I can't do it because I'm gonna be in Camden.
Okay.
If nobody else steps forward, I would be happy to on behalf of the hub, kind of, if.
Well, that's
nobody-
very nice of you, Kizzy. We'll see if Janice can do it. Okay, Dick, you had something else on the charger, on the,
Yeah, I have had discussions with Maine Power Options, which is the organization which represents Constellation, the main utility, and they are willing to discuss options for rates, electric power rates for this island of municipal customers for next year. And so the discussions for 2025 are underway for next year's contract for power for the municipality. And they indicated that it could be less. We'll see. But they are the power supplier at the moment for this municipality.
okay, thank you.
And they're easy to talk with.
So as far as this year's budget goes, there were a number of charges that were all actually invoiced in June that didn't get paid until July. I'm gonna be working with Brian to sort out, because the town passed an ordinance in June that if items that were allocated and had been voted on in the previous fiscal year ended up getting paid, they would be charged the previous year's budget. But, you know, figuring that, actually getting that to look clear on the town's accounting system apparently is not simple, so we'll try to sort that out. For the coming year, we've already talked about the heat pumps for the library. There's also the insulation service project for the firehouse. We'll need somebody to take charge of that. We have an allocation for a community event and the EV charger. So we'll be moving on with those things. Now, with Toby gone, we do have room for a new member, and Trevor, who is with us up there, has expressed some interest. Trevor, do you want to introduce yourself to the group?
Yeah, my name is Trevor Blackford. I live on Marshall Cove. I moved to the island full-time a year ago, but I first moved here during the pandemic in 2020. Lived on Rebel Hill for a year, and then we got the property on Marshall Cove, which was just a summer house, but the island has a way of like bringing you in, and so we are now full-time and have stayed on full-time for 1 year so far, and don't plan on going anywhere. It doesn't make sense to leave paradise. We have 2 daughters that are both enrolled at the central school, 10-year-old Maggie and 6-year-old Nell. Actually, Nell's birthday is tomorrow, so I won't be able to make the NREL meeting due to celebrations with ice cream cones and mini golf. I've always been, interested in energy policy and like overall like energy usage. I had like my first interest was in a solar array in Colorado. And I've long tried to transition into a career that's more climate centric, but I'm firmly in a data plane situation with software, and so the municipal broadband here is incredibly important to me. But it's also important that I live in a place that is taking care of future generations, and so making sure that I'm helping to make Islesboro more sustainable, more resilient, reduce some of the unequitable effects of climate change, and address some inequality issues when it comes to access to affordable energy. And so I really respect what the Energy Committee has been doing so far. I think it's a real vibrant committee on the island, and I think there's a lot of interesting things happening, and I'd love to be a part of it.
Right, so, now do we need to vote on November?
You don't need to, but traditionally, committees and boards come to an agreement and vote to recommend to the select board that the select board appoint a certain person.
I was gonna say, we don't have power to put anybody on the committee. We can just say,
But the
it's a good idea.
But the select board
Yeah,
looks to the committee to
yes.
recommend, so.
Right.
I move that we recommend Trevor to join our committee,
Second,
so I guess we have to do a.
Yeah, I
Otherwise-
asked Trevor, what was your professional background, so we can steal some thunder from you from time to time?
you're muted.
You're muted.
I work in software. So I'm a product manager right now for a company called Elastic. We do large scale data analytics, search processing, and AI driven solutions. And my background is in like big data. Before that, I studied cognitive neuroscience. I like play act as an engineer, but I'm really more of a humanities nerd and linguistics geek. I like data, and I like reading a lot of stuff.
He's got my vote. Be prepared.
Okay, so, so we're voting on the motion to recommend Trevor to the select board as a new member of the committee. So Cressica,
I vote yes.
Dick, you said yes.
Yes,
Josh, yes. Bill?
Yes,
All right, yes, okay. So moved and we will
welcome to
recommend
the
her.
chaos.
You're gonna
Yeah.
be busy, Trevor.
Yeah, okay.
You
Josh,
just joined.
Both feet in.
yeah,
now voting in Trevor, I have, Janice and I, our businesses that we have collaboratively at home. Addition to Janice's own distinctive furniture and windows, have added another side to that, designing stickers, t-shirts. It's still expanding where we're gonna go with that, doing the metal, like thermos mugs, designs for those. Possibilities are kind of endless in where we're gonna go with it, between that and also picking up jobs, doing lawn mowing and whatnot. I've kind of, I haven't been here straight through. I've missed, I don't know, I think at least 2 months in a row. Just having to kind of take a step back and putting a focus on our own work that we're doing. So it's, I don't feel that asking me to do a project that I may not be able to dedicate time to, and I'll just kind of step away from the board. I'll still be available through the fire department with projects that are going on. To gain access, questions, whatnot, feel free to bounce them off me. It's been about 2.5 years, I think, in here. I've learned a lot being here, working with everybody on the board. I just don't feel that my time would be well spent trying to achieve some of the projects here. Just due to my lack of being able to dedicate my time here to it.
So you're asking to step off the committee?
Unfortunately, yes.
yeah. Well, I think it's a shame because I think, you know, you bring an important perspective and knowledge to the. about the-
Yeah, I can still,
Yeah.
you know. Not officially on the board, you know, I can still bring whatever info you're looking for.
Yeah,
Feel free to reach out, email me. I'll do everything I can to try to help out and where and when I can.
yeah. So that will leave us with another opening. Now, I believe I'll have to verify with you, but I believe Janice Petzel is interested in returning to the committee. She's been on it in the past. But. Oh. I mean, I could confirm that with her. We could move ahead with that, or would people like more time?
I know Janet very well. I think she'd be great.
Yeah,
Why don't we ask her?
well, I have talked to her. She is interested. Actually, what I had talked to her about was, you know, perhaps serving as a alternate, but then Josh said,
I should point out that she and I talked with Craig 2 or 3 years ago
Mhm.
about a solar farm on the hillside on Craig property on
Yeah.
West Bay Road,
Yeah,
and I would think that that's still a possibility.
yeah, I actually talked to him or had an email exchange with him fairly recently where he
As have
sort
I.
of said, not yet.
Yes, but I think he could be, there's a discussion point there,
Yeah.
because his point is that, I talked to him during the. We shifted to another topic. Now, I
Yeah, yeah.
apologize. Is this an appropriate time for me to add this? It's about solar, his, property and a solar.
Let's finish with, all right, so shall we move to, ask Janet and Janice, and if she says yes, recommend her to the select board as well?
Sure.
Move second,
Second,
okay, vote Jessica,
I vote yes for Janice, and I'm very sorry to hear you're leaving us, Josh.
Dick?
Yeah.
Josh?
Yeah.
Bill?
Yes.
And I vote yes, okay, that, moves it forward a little bit, okay, so what you were gonna say?
So the day of the garden tour, I just stumbled into a conversation with Darrell Crate and was talking about this. And he's very pro solar array. His reservation at the moment, if I remember it correctly and understood correctly, is that the inverters are, there will be a lot of innovation in the inverters and that the cost will go down. I think that that's a negotiable point, or might be a negotiable point with him, because the cost of the inverters is a small part of the installation cost of such a system. And so the benefit that we would be likely to derive financially is small, I think. So, I mean, that stands to be tested, but that's my sense of the situation. Who was I talking to? That was reinforced by a conversation with someone else within the past 2 weeks, and at this instant, I can't remember who it was. But at any rate, I think that the installation costs will not be dramatically affected by the innovations in the inverters, because the inverters are relatively inexpensive. Associated with that, I meant to bring this up at the last meeting. I also talked with Harry Brigham, and he is also very interested in the whole idea of solarizing the island and would like to be actively involved in the conversation
Okay.
about that.
Yeah.
So Darrell Craig and Harry Brigham, both
I mean,
potential.
Yeah, I'd also like to discuss possibilities in I don't know about like in public.
yeah, so we have, yeah, I mean, that's certainly worth keeping in mind. At the moment, we have quite a lot of people who, as Jessica mentioned, who expressed interest. So now the next step will be really analyzing what the best sites are. And, in terms of both the geography as well as proximity to the existing power lines and all that. We also may be looking for places to locate these storage facilities that Jessica mentioned. I think when he was talking, didn't he say something like 20 by 40 feet was the size of one of these fuel cell arrangements?
Yeah. It's quite
So-
small, yeah, and like Trevor mentioned on the chat, it doesn't have to be co-located with the cable entry point. It can be co-located with a location of higher energy demand, population density. We'll be able to explore other sites that might be more beneficial to us in the near term.
Oh, by the way, footnote to what I just said, I asked both Darrell and Harry if it would be okay if I brought those, the conversations up in the committee meeting, and each of them said yes, and they'd like to, pursue that further.
Okay. Well, that definitely is worth keeping in mind, as we move on to the next step of actually, because like we said, we had quite a few people who have expressed interest, and some of their sites may be better than others, so it's really useful to have a lot of different options to make the design with. All right, so I think,
I
we're
should
done.
add that the Craig property is particularly advantageous because it's close to where the power comes in under the water.
Right. And it's also already cleared a lot of it,
That's exactly right.
a big one.
And the generous people.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, definitely. And, so. Anyways, any other comments? Okay, the next meeting will be September 10th at 5:15.
I won't be here.
I won't be here either, actually, I was gonna
If we
say.
could postpone it for a week or a few days, that'd be great, but I won't be back till the 11th.
Can we move to postpone it? I'm away that,
Maybe we can figure that out via email.
Yeah.
Okay, well. So that you did, I was just gonna say, I may need somebody to chair for me, because I won't be here, but if
Well,
we postpone it for a few days or a week.
yeah, but a couple of days delay would be great.
As of right now, the following Tuesday is available in the evening.
Okay. Well, that would be the 17th. I'm pretty sure I could do that, but we'll do I'll. ask
Yeah,
you by
let's
email.
verify.
Yeah.
We were gonna-
Motion to adjourn?
I move.
Second. All in favor, Jessica,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Bill? Yes. Okay, we are adjourned.
Oh, what
Thank
it's
you,
worth,
everybody.
I was down on the beach building stairs and I was struggling with dimensions. And I came up to the house and saw Cressica's